news on the GPU market. We have graphics cards hitting MSRP for the first time in memory this generation. Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. We've got massive decreases across the board. The used market is getting much better at the same time, and we've got some great developments both in terms of the supply and the demand side. We're going to go through all of that, of course, including the best price to performance cards in this month right now. If you get value of the video, give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, remember to subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. Before that, this video is sponsored by VIP SCD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows 10 licenses and that terrible Activate Windows 10 watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SCD Key, and get a Windows 10 Home or Pro OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 25% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom, you have a fully licensed Windows 10 for a crazy low price, which can be upgraded for free to Windows 11. Use the links in the video description below. Let's go ahead and jump into the current pricing for March, beginning of April. And the first thing I want you to note is we are no longer using eBay pricing from Tom's Hardware. Thank you, Tom's Hardware, for doing all that data compilation. We appreciate it, but there's no reason to look at eBay data any longer for the new graphics cards. Prices across the board at retail are now lower, much lower in fact, than they are on eBay. So let's jump in and let's, number one, take the first graphics card of this generation to actually hit its MSRP. Future Jason here. Just before the video went live, the Radeon RX 6900 XT went all the way down to $999, which is exactly its MSRP. We don't have to talk about AIB cards. We don't have to talk about anything else. $999. Let's take a quick look. We've got both the MSI Radeon RX 6900 XT. That one's $1,069 with a $50 rebate, so it comes out to $1,019 or $1,020. But the one that actually hits MSRP is the Gigabyte Radeon RX 6900 XT, $1,150, but they're giving you a $150 rebate. $999.99 is your final price after rebate. It's done it. They've done it. We've seen the first graphics card in this generation hit its MSRP. It's hard to believe. Hopefully many, many more to come. By the way, the 3080 Ti with their $1,200 MSRP, I'm just qualifying that. I'm just qualifying for that. No, we're going to use 3080 MSRP for that. I'm sorry. $1,200 is nonsense. I'm even willing to give NVIDIA the 3070 Ti MSRP of $599, $100 more, but not almost double the original 3080. That's nonsense. We're not doing that. Similarly, the next card I would really expect to hit its MSRP, probably the RTX 3070. It's getting very, very close. It's got 27% of MSRP right now. 3090 Ti did just come out. It's kind of created a little bit of a bump downward for that card. As we can see, it fell 11% to $1,900. But let's stay with the AMD cards for just a moment now. The other AMD cards that are kind of in the neighborhood of hitting MSRP, the Radeon RX 6500 XT. That card right now is going for $225. There's some other models out there for about $230. Not a card I would recommend to anybody, but we're just looking at it for science right now in terms of the MSRP. And then, of course, we've got the Radeon RX 6600, which fell 14% all the way down now to $370. And one of the themes you're going to see is that ASRock is kind of leading the charge, at least on the AMD graphic card, along with Sapphire. So $370, this is a great price to performance. We will, of course, go through the best price to performance later in the video. This is just where we're at with the MSRP and overall market. The 6800 is down 10% to $896. The 6700 XT down 23% to $600. And then the 6600 XT has fallen another 7%. Now we're at $466. Again, kind of getting around that MSRP, but not there yet. Let's give it another month. Now let's take a look at the NVIDIA graphics cards. 3090 is down 11% to $1,900. And if we look at the 3090 model that's actually on sale right now for $1,900, it's the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3090. Not a bad graphics card at all. But again, the 3090 Ti has created some price pressure on the 3090 to kind of knock it down a little bit. That's actually a good thing. I was highly critical of the 3090 Ti. It's not clear to me that they're going to be able to produce those in any kind of quantity beyond the initial release and maybe a couple drips here and there, but we'll see. If it drives other prices down, that's a good thing. Then of course we see the 3080 Ti has fallen by 16% down to $1,300 in March. The 3080 is down to $1,000. I think this is one probably people are most excited about. In fact, there were actually two models just a second ago. Looks like one of them just sold out. It was the Gigabyte Vision D, the all-white Gigabyte. But again, I think a lot of people super excited to see the RTX 3080 fall to $1,000 and hopefully see it fall below that. Rounding this out, we've got the 3070 Ti fell 9% to $820. The 3070 fell 14% to $730. And listen, not a terrible price for that graphics card right now if you want to go out and grab one. I believe that's also a Gigabyte model for the 3070. In fact, yes, it's the gaming OC. I have this graphics card model. Really, really good performer, I thought, at least. We've had it for a year and a half. We used it in our video editing build. It's done really, really great for us. Then the 3060 Ti is where NVIDIA begins to really hit price to performance. So the 3060 Ti, $570. Now that card kind of directly competes with the 6700 XT, and right now it's cheaper. That's the first NVIDIA card we can actually say that about for the 3060 Ti. Not a bad model either on sale right now. It's the MSI Ventus RTX 3060 Ti, but there's also the Gigabyte Gaming OC for not that much more, $589. Then of course we've got a card that I think a lot of people want to get their hands on, which is the RTX 3060, fell another 15%, down to $470. And you can get a couple of different models that are really good. There's the Ventus 2 fan one, there's the Ventus 3 fan one, we got the Gigabyte OC and the Asus Strix for not that much more, all around about $470 to $490. Again, probably still outclassed by the RX 6600 in terms of price to performance, given that it's almost $110 less. And then finally, we've got the RTX 3050 has fallen 13% to $350. Now, this is a card that I will start recommending once it gets a little lower. It's still a little too high for me, but if you're a budget builder out there and you just, for whatever reason, you do not want to have an RX 6600, an AMD graphics card, if you absolutely have to have NVIDIA, I guess you're not really a budget builder if you're that picky, but hey, if you are, then this is definitely the card to consider. And if we take a quick look at the chart, we can see there has been a massive decrease from the all-time highs of these graphic cards. Yes, at this time in their lifespan, we would expect to see these cards below MSRP in a normal market. We all know we haven't been in a normal market. It's really, really helpful to see the trends down, especially with the 3080 right here, which absolutely took a nosedive and nosedive below a couple other cards that it was routinely above, including the 6900 XT, making it a much, much better value. So let's talk about why graphics card prices continue to decline. And the answer is very, very simple. Cryptocurrency has been going through an extended slump until very recently, and there are massive changes headed on the way to Ethereum. What the heck am I talking about? Well, if you're new to all of this, then you'd be surprised to find out that graphics cards are primarily being used right now, at least this generation, to mine Ethereum. It's a cryptocurrency that is GPU mineable. Not all cryptocurrencies are GPU mineable. Bitcoin, for instance, is not. It's mined with what's called an ASIC miner. So 98% of all the GPU mineable cryptocurrency market cap is tied up into Ethereum. And there are some important changes happening to Ethereum. But what kicked off the absolute plummeting of GPU prices was an absolute plummeting of Ethereum value. So starting off in November, it was around $4,700, $4,800. Just before the new year in December, it hit around 4,000, had come down about 800, and we were already starting to see the beginnings of some of these price decreases in terms of graphics cards. Then, of course, in January, it tumbled further to $3,000, all the way down to actually $2,400 around January 22nd, and it has bounced around up and down since that time. And that has absolutely killed the profitability of mining Ethereum. Because the other thing that goes on with Ethereum, obviously, is that Ethereum has this built-in thing called difficulty. That means the more hashing power that's on the network, the more graphics card power that gets put on the network, the harder it is to mine the next block. Your 3090 is going to be making you less money mining today than it was 6 months ago, because look at the difficulty. It's skyrocketed. This dip here was when China did a big crackdown in June, July, and then it spiked up. But you can see it's plateauing now. And it's plateauing because Ethereum is about to hit a huge milestone. They are actually going to transition off of proof of work, where you can mine it with a graphics card, to something called proof of stake. We'll go through that in just a moment. But you can see it's still going up though. It's still going up despite the lesser value of Ethereum, despite the fact that the merge is coming and it's no longer sane to go out and buy graphics cards for Ethereum mining. People are still doing it. I just want you to know that this is people are still doing this as of today. They're still putting together these rigs. They're still talking about their hashing power. This guy went out and bought a 3090 Ti Founders Edition to GPU mine with it. That's crazy. And he's not the only one. There's a number of folks in this in the subreddit here that go through and do this. And listen, it's more of a lifestyle than anything else. They're going to keep spending all their extra money. It's like the person next door who's got 12 different Harley Davidson motorcycles because they spend all their money doing that. That's what this has become a little bit. And of course, a lot of folks have gotten in thinking it's easy money. They have no idea that the merge is coming. They have no idea what's going on in terms of their hash rate. They just want to make easy money. That's the way every financial bubble works. So the big thing that's keeping miners from jumping out and buying way more graphics cards, even though the value of Ethereum has gone up and their profitability is going back up, it's the fact that Ethereum is going to move to what's called proof of stake, which is going to end GPU mining, not just on Ethereum, but pretty much everything, because some of these coins out there are absolutely tiny compared to the Death Star that is Ethereum mining. That's the thing that is really holding miners at bay right now from buying more cards, because they know, at least the smart miners know, that if they buy any more graphics cards, no matter what the value right now, they will never make that money back. And we are going to see a point when Ethereum does go to proof of stake and merges that all the graphics card mining out there will go to negative profitability. It will cost miners money to mine. So what are they going to do? They're going to sell off their graphics cards. Well, let's talk about how many graphics cards are about to hit the used market when this huge flood happens and Ethereum goes to proof of stake. Right now out there is about 1,000 terahash. So we can convert that to gigahash, we can convert that to megahash, and then we can take the megahash per second of the various graphics cards and find out how many graphics cards worth of hash rate are out there. So if we just go ahead and take the RTX 3090, right now there are almost 9 million GPUs worth, 8.9 million worth of RTX 3090s hashing power out there. That's a lot of RTX 3090 hashing power. Obviously, they're not all 3090s, they're not all 3080s, but if we put that in terms of lower end graphics cards, the 34.5 million GTX 1660 Supers worth of graphics card hash power on the Ethereum network right now. That's a ton of GPUs that are sitting out there in mining rigs right now that are going to start to go negative profitability. And of course, those miners are going to start selling them off just like they did in 2018 and 2019 when Ethereum crashed and you could get an RX 580 for $65 on eBay. We are going to see the same thing happen again. Let's take a look at the road ahead for the GPU market in the next couple of months. Where's it going to go based on the supply side and demand side dynamics? Well, the first supply side dynamic we should obviously go through here is Intel Arc. We've been waiting for these Intel Arc desktop GPUs forever. They last week finally announced that they were going to launch their laptop ones, and then we got a one more thing Steve Jobs moment. I wish people would stop doing that. But we got the one more thing moment where they showed us a render of the desktop version, and they said something about limited edition summer 2022. And one of the reasons I think that's very, very not good for gamers in terms of the supply side is we were originally going to get these things first quarter 2022. I mean, forget that we were supposed to get them last year too. And then they said second quarter 2022, but second quarter 2022 only goes through July. So summer goes through August, right? So I just think Intel is giving itself more and more and more wiggle room. Clearly, they are having tons of problems with these graphics cards. I'm not saying that they can't sort them out and get them out there, but we all know right now, given the market conditions and given how the market is changing, Intel wants to be out there sooner rather than later. The only thing I really question here is that if they say they've only got 4 million total discrete graphics cards coming, that's laptop and desktop, mind you, and I bet you anything that they're going to go heavy into the laptop market, how many desktop cards are we really going to get out of Intel? I'm beginning to get less and less hopeful on this. Thankfully, we've had graphics card prices come down without this needing to be a factor in there, but I wouldn't be holding my breath for Intel Alchemist at this point. The other thing we're waiting on right now is really it's just a refresh of the RX 6950 XT, the 6 whatever. Wish AMD would come up with a better way of saying this. This is really difficult to communicate to folks. They're going to put a 50 in all the card names except for the 6600. We're going to stay with that one. We're going to get the 6650 XT, 6750 XT, 6950 XT, so on and so forth, on around May 10th. They've pushed this back. Hopefully this will deliver some volume, and I really hope that we see that some of the older cards will be priced more aggressively in order to move them. AMD has not been able to move a lot of its graphics cards. The pricing of those cards was stupid for a very, very long time. They've got to recognize that NVIDIA just has a lot more mind share than they do in the market, and if I were them, I would price these very, very aggressively and recognize that the market is rapidly changing on you. But we'll see what AMD actually does. That's just my unsolicited advice. Lisa Sue, if you're listening out there, that's what I would do. The other supply side dynamic, just to jump back to Ethereum here, is with Ethereum going to proof of stake and this huge tidal wave of used GPUs coming in. I'm expecting that sometime in the summertime. It's seeming like it's going to be more like July or August at this point, but it is coming. We do know that. And a lot of the miners who were like, oh, I'm going to hold out forever. Yeah, we'll see. As soon as it costs them money to turn on those rigs as opposed to those rigs giving them money, yeah, we'll see. And that's definitely one of the big things, especially for budget builders. If you're not going to mind picking up a used graphics card from this generation, it's probably going to be a really, really good time to do it. And even though that's a used market dynamic, it's going to definitely hit the demand in the new market as well. We'll have to see how much that pulls new prices down. But I do expect the market's going to have to do something in response to not being able to sell these graphics cards, because we were rapidly transcending back to what the market looked like, more like 2018 or 2019, which was a buyer's market, not a seller's market. Unfortunately, we have been in the worst seller's market of all time, but that does seem to be reversing, and probably around July or August is when that'll kind of really hit its peak. So let's play everyone's favorite, should you buy now or should you wait? Well, I gotta be honest with you, at this point, if you're waiting at the low end, I could see maybe another month, but honestly, how much more are you really gonna save? Especially if you're gonna get something like the Ryzen 5600 or 5500 that just came out, or you're building a rig with like an i3 12100, which is back in stock, by the way. The 12100F is back in stock. Absolutely great budget gaming CPU. If you wanna build a new budget gaming rig or even a mid-range rig, it's a really, really good time to do it. Check out my recent best Ryzen 5600 gaming build. I was surprised when I did the builds at the end how cheap they were compared to where we were just about a year ago with the 5600X and crazy graphics card prices. So you can really get a lot of power right now. In fact, you can beat the pre-built market now by building your own again. This is the first time we've been able to do that in about a year, almost a year and a half. That's insane. At the high end, I can certainly understand people like, hey, I would normally buy a 3090, a 3080, one of the kind of top tier cards. And given the fact that the Halo products for AMD and NVIDIA are probably coming in the fourth quarter of this year, maybe in the first quarter of next year. Now, I do want to just impress upon folks, you're not going to probably see a 4060, an RTX 4060 in January. As with all their launches, NVIDIA often staggers these. They often launch the Halo products first, then there's the kind of next ones down, the 3070s, the 3080s, and then you're gonna see like the 3060 level card, maybe 4 or 5 months afterwards, and they're gonna keep selling the current 3060s and the other cards at a discount. So just kind of brace yourself. Now, they may decide to completely do this a different way and compress that whole schedule, but if you're someone who would normally be looking in that tier, I might just go ahead and pull up a stake with something now, maybe look for something used over the summertime. But I just think that the prospect of waiting gets worse and worse every day. Now, we will get to a point where like in November, December, where it just won't make any sense to buy anything right now. You'll obviously want to wait to see what's coming on down the pike. But we're not there yet. In fact, we're quite a ways away from there. We're only in April right now. So I would definitely consider buying right now. I think it's a strong buying environment, given that all the other component prices, if you're building new, are still at or around their historic lows. Memory has come up. Storage has come up just a little bit. Cases are obviously still a little on the expensive side, but the CPUs, there's a flood of budget CPUs out there. Coolers are cheap right now. A lot of other components that you would normally need. Motherboards are super cheap, especially on the AMD side. So if you want to build something new, that's where you want to go. If you're just looking to upgrade, I think, yeah, I don't know, 6600 looks really attractive. 3050, RTX 3050 might look really attractive in a month or two if it comes down more like $280. So I don't know, it's really up to you and where you're at in your budget, but I certainly think for anybody who would normally go out and rush out and buy a 3090 and spend the money when it comes out, you're probably waiting for sure. Let's jump into the best price to performance GPUs right now. If you're not familiar with how this chart works, what I've done is I go ahead and every month we take a look at the top 43 graphics cards that NVIDIA and AMD still support with graphics card updates in terms of the drivers, so nothing that they don't support, and we look at their pricing in terms of used and new in the North American market. And we peg this to the percentage of performance versus an RX 570, and we use the Tech Power Up GPU database in order to do that. So then what we do with that information is we divide the price by the performance, and we get price to performance. So we can see roughly what are the best graphics cards that you should be looking for out there right now. And the great thing about this spreadsheet is if you're not in North America, I'm going to leave a link to the spreadsheet, as always, down in the video description. I can see there's already some folks in it right now. You can go in, you can make a copy of this. I've got instructions on how to do it. Make a copy, dump in the pricing for your area, and then you can sort price to performance in your market. And of course, I don't do extensive tracking on the used market. I do know it's come down massively. Let me know down in the comments, is that something you'd like me to do? Let's start off at the best 1080p price to performance cards right now. Number one, the GeForce GTX 970. Now this card is a little older, so that's okay though. It's still probably going to get a couple of years out of it. And if you can't really afford anything more than $175, so that's a pretty good card. That's about the same performance as an RX 570. But if you do want to get something new, the good news, the RX 6600 continues to decline massively in price, and it's number 2 on the overall list and number 2 here on the 1080p gaming list. Obviously, you're going to have to scrape together about $368. If you wait a little bit longer, I think you're going to see more of these cards come down below $350. I think that card's going to hit MSRP soonish. It's almost double the performance of the 970 for less than half the money. Of course, then we've got GTX 1070 out there. If 280 is what you're looking to spend on a graphics card, I would buy this over the 3050 right now, by the way. That's just me. And this card is not that old. It's still a good performer. The Radeon RX 480, I might skip this card at number 4. Find a 580 if you can. 580s aren't selling for much more than this. It just didn't quite make this list. And then, of course, we've got the GTX 980. A little stronger than the 970, but, I would probably stick with the 970 just for price to performance overall. At 1440p, we've got, of course, the RX 6600 XT leads the pack. Now, the 6600 XT, you're going to be able to play most games in 1440p, at least 60 FPS on very good settings. Couple of games, Cyberpunk 2077, obviously, there's some outlier games. You will have to turn down either the settings or you'll have to turn it down to 1080p. For $466 has continued to decline. Then we've got the GTX 1080 Ti, and honestly, given the fact that it's only a little bit cheaper than the 6600 XT and the performance is a little bit less, I would skip this card. And then we've got the RTX 3060 Ti. Now this is a really, really good pickup here if you want solid 1440p performance at pretty much every game you can play. And then we round it out with the 3070 and the 3070 Ti. I've just lumped those two together. The performance is so similar, no real reason to separate them out. What if you want to play games in 4K? Well, first of all, there's not that many cards that are actually 4K capable in all games right now, but there are some, and we're taking a look at them right now. 3070 and 3070 Ti, so close in performance, I don't separate the two. Coming up then, we got the 6800 XT, but honestly, the price to performance, I probably would stretch and get a 3080. 3080 for $1,000 is a great pickup right now. And then I kind of think that we get into silly territory right now. 6800, 6900 XT, the price goes up pretty quickly. I don't really think that you're going to not get a 3080 and skip it in favor of the 6800 because the 3080 is stronger than the 6800, maybe not stronger than the 6800 XT. I'd say the 3080 right now is where you want to be if you want 4K gaming, possibly the 3070 Ti, or if you can find a good deal on a 6800 XT. Thank you for joining me on this month's GPU update. Remember, if you got value out of the video, give it a like. It makes a big difference to the channel, and subscribe and click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. Let me know, would you like a more in-depth analysis of the used market every month like we do for the new market? We can certainly add that in. I've got all the data for it. Would love to share it with you if there's interest in it, of course. And of course, If you're looking for a Ryzen 5600 gaming build right now, I just put out the best 5600 gaming build. We go through motherboards, we go through everything that you need, including graphics cards and more, to build the best 5600 build right now. And we compare it, of course, to the i5 12400. Which one should you get? And with that, we'll catch you on the next one.